we had heard last month from a Brigadier Mokoena who denied being on the WhatsApp group that was established to try and essentially go on this fact-finding mission to essentially thwart this bogus operation there. At the time, Brigadier Mokoena claimed not to have been on that WhatsApp group. He was presented with evidence suggesting otherwise, but stood his ground. Today, we've heard from at least two witnesses who have painted the picture of Mokoena actually being well aware of this operation, because not only was he the person in charge, but he was supposedly on this group itself. Take a listen.
We, as the commissioners, want Brigadier Mokoena to come back. Is it possible for him to come back this afternoon?
Chair, the indication from Brigadier Mokoena in our engagements with him over the weekend is that he would prefer not to return to the commission at this stage until he has considered legal advice and considered all the evidence that will be led in this matter. He's not sure if at this stage he is considered an implicated person, having regard to the evidence that was led last week. So he's still considering his position, and my understanding from the DPCI's legal advisor is that they've advised him not to participate at this stage unless the commission absolutely wants him to come, but even then he'll still consider his position.
We absolutely want him to come back. It will just be a question of the timing, but we absolutely do want him to come back. Remember, he had said that if Captain Kruger comes and confirms confirmation that he could not explain, that is the meaning thereof, as he used the word. And Captain Kruger came, but all of this, as you remember, related to whether or not he participated in the group. And he said he did not, and Captain Kruger said he did. And on the statements that we have shown, there are other witnesses, or at least there is one, but probably more than just one, who again contradict him. So we just must hear him again. So it's not a maybe. We do want to hear him again. But as I say, it's perhaps a question of timing, especially if he says he wants legal advice. I doubt that we would want to force him before he gets that legal advice.
All right, so you just heard from the chair of this inquiry saying that they want Brigadier Mokoena back in the hot seat because so far not one but two witnesses at least have contradicted this claim that he made, that he wasn't aware of this WhatsApp group or the operation at Katiso KT Molefe's home. Kenny Mapanga is our senior reporter, keeping a close eye on the many moving parts. She joins us now live once again. And Kenny, we're moving quite fast this Monday morning. Already this inquiry is heard from the second witness today, trying to piece together, as I mentioned earlier, these behind-the-scenes discussions about whether or not to send these Hawks officials to KT Molefe's home and whether to abandon that operation once they had figured out that this, in fact, was a legitimate operation by the PKTT.
Indeed. Good morning to you and to the viewers once again. I think it's important for this evidence to be combed through quite further, because there's no clarity as to why the Hawks descended on that operation of takedown of Katiso KT Molefe after learning of the fact that those cops that were at the residence were actually a legitimate operation or unit, that is the counterintelligence, that were carrying out a lawful operation or a lawful arrest, or some may say executing that J50 warrant against the alleged cartel member, that is Katiso KT Molefe. Why these two particular witnesses that we've heard so far are important is because there is difficulty with trying to get proper reasoning behind this defense that it was a verification request, but then seeing the actions of those Hawks officials going further beyond the scope of this verification request and actually proceeding to that residence in their numbers and at least stayed there for an hour before they actually withdrew. So why the Chief George is actually important for this particular evidence is because he is the person that would have been roped in from traffic to come in and assess the situation. So he said because he didn't have officers on the ground that he used the helicopter to, I guess, surveil the area in which the Sandhurst residence was. But the most important information coming out of Chief George is because, remember, we heard evidence from Captain Barry Kruger when he was probed on this issue of, once you've learned through the WhatsApp group that this is a legitimate operation, why did you proceed further? One of the messages in which we learned that it was a legitimate operation was through Chief George, who sent a message in that WhatsApp group saying that it was legitimate. He even listed what the team was, which is counterintelligence, and who the commander was at the scene. But they still proceeded. Now, when Captain Kruger was on the stand, he stated that he didn't know where Chief George got that information. But Chief George has just gotten on the stand right now and stated that he was on the phone with Captain Kruger, and that is how he learned that the information, or rather the operation, was legitimate. This means that they would have known all along that the operation was legitimate and there was no communication for any of these members to stand down. They still proceeded. Again, it waters down this defense that it was merely just a verification request, because you're seeing the actions counter that, because they're going far beyond the scope of what they were called to do in that particular request or instruction. Now, with this particular witness, that is Warrant Officer Nkosi, very colorful witness, it seems that he wanted no parts of this particular operation. From his testimony, he didn't see it necessary for them to be called from their faraway destinations. We're understanding that he was now in Springs of Gauteng, and he was being called to go to a location that is in Sandton, where he says that there were already police stations, multiple, within the vicinity of the residents of the Sandhurst residents of Katiso KT Molefe, who could have done that particular job of verifying whether or not this was a legitimate operation. He also stressed how dangerous it could have been for them to go there without a plan and just to descend on this property and not really knowing what it is that they're going to be doing there. A lot of that evidence is watering down this particular assertion that it was merely just a verification request. Now, the person who is at the center of these allegations that are being tested and would need to provide clarity is the person who, I guess, instructed these officers or these TOMS officials to go into this area and, of course, push them and move them away from a legitimate Northwest operation that they were intended to head to at 7 p.m. that afternoon, but they were now being sent or diverted to a different direction of the Sandhurst residents, which they didn't understand what the importance or significance of that was, because there were multiple police stations that could have done that verification, and they didn't need to leave Springs or North Pretoria for them to go and verify that particular evidence. Now, it's unclear whether Brigadier Mokoena will be able to verify or at least provide further clarity as the Commission attempts to get to the bottom of what exactly the Hawks' involvement was and what they were intending to do, because Brigadier Mokoena, we've heard through the evidence leader, that he now has consulted his legal advisors, and it is not advised for him to return to the Commission at the stage, because he doesn't understand whether he is actually a person assisting them or if he is now an implicated person before the Commission.
Sure, and I suppose we'll wait to see whether or not he'll agree to coming back to at least try provide some kind of clarity given these new questions that have arisen. But can he help us also get a better sense of how Warrant Officer Nkosi responded to commissioners who are asking him why he didn't push back when he was instructed essentially to go to Katiso Molefe's house, given the issues you've just mentioned around how far it was and the fact that surely there were police officers who were much closer to the property than he was?
Indeed, we are getting the sense that he was frustrated or perhaps annoyed with the request that was being made while knowing that they had an operation in the Northwest that they were preparing for that afternoon. But it seems that he understood it as an instruction, and then he also understood that other members had already been sent there and that the instruction was already far gone, to the extent that he didn't have power as the warrant officer in that situation to challenge what was taking place. So he understood it as an instruction and that it had already progressed, I guess if you could put it that way, and that other members had already gone towards or proceeded towards the residence of Katiso KT Molefe, and that it was multiple people that were now involved. It wasn't an instruction that now exclusively only involved his role. And he stated that in that context, he felt that he didn't have the power, he didn't enjoy the power to challenge it at that stage. So that was the explanation that he provided to the commission regarding this request that seemingly he suggests was insignificant. They didn't have to descend on that particular property. They could have proceeded with their Northwest operation, and it didn't need all these calls pushing them to push forward to Katiso KT Molefe's residence, asking them how far they were. He says that this is something that could have simply been done by the surrounding police stations of the area.
All right, Kenny Mapanga is live to us there from the Bridget Mabanda Justice College, and we can see that Warrant Officer Nkosi is back on the witness stand, suggesting to us that, of course, we might very well be resuming with his testimony in just a moment.